In your perspectives of investing, I looked at, you had 9 of them. You had luck, price, due diligence, instinct management, etc. When you talk about price, you mentioned in that aspect, in your perspective, that you've heard that company's management team prefers you as their investor. They're going to choose you. Talk to me about leadership and talk to me about management.
Well, the point I was making there is when we're doing a buyout, you're competing. Everything is an auction pretty much. And when my team comes to me and says, the management team of the company want to buy, they prefer us. Well, they're often not the people making the decision. It's the owner. And so when people tell me that the seller or the management team prefers us, I get skeptical a bit because they're not necessarily the decision maker. So I just think in the end, what gets down to when you're trying to buy a company is pretty much the price and the certainty of closing at that price. Maybe people like you a little bit more. Maybe in some cases it makes a modest difference. But generally, in the buyout world, whoever pays the highest price with a certainty of closing is almost certainly going to win that deal.
Because, PB, I experienced that with you. And then this exit we've had, that you preferred a certain investor to purchase PHP. It wasn't just because there's a lot of money, there's a lot of offers coming your way. But I saw you, look, for example, if I'm buying a company, they want you to buy them.
Right.
Because they feel that you're going to take the business to the next level. And that's kind of like the perspective you had.
It depends if you're controlling the company. If you're buying 100% of the company, the seller probably doesn't care that much. Right. If they're going to stay in the deal, then they want somebody they think is going to add value, then they might look at something other than price because they're still going to ride with the upside.
Right.
He's right. That's exactly it, because you have to think about the people that have been running a company who are going to be with the new buyer longer than the founder maybe. So it's important for that partnership to make sense. And then the structure to be set up. Sometimes it's set up in a way where the founder doesn't go with the deal. They don't even want the founder to go with the deal. Like, listen, kind of step out of the way. You've been partying too much. You're kind of living a lifestyle, the whole yacht, all this other stuff. You haven't been operating for 4 years. Let us just take over and we'll do our part. And then sometimes if the founder is very involved, they kind of want the guy to be locked in a little bit for a couple of years before they transition him out.
That's true. Sometimes if it's a founder, it's a difference if it's a founder and a CEO. If it's a founder, but he is not really still running the company, they'd probably be happy if he would lend his credibility to the customers, say, I'm still happy with this buyer, I'm still around, but they don't really want his advice that much. They don't want him involved that much. If it's a CEO who's really built the company and is still running a company and is really valuable, you probably would keep him for a while. But in a buyout, about more than 50% of the time, the person who's running the company in a buyout at the time you do the deal is not running it when you exit that deal.
That totally makes sense.
And some people would say the biggest mistake that buyout firms make is staying with a CEO too long. Sometimes the CEO was good maybe before, or maybe wasn't that good, but if you keep riding with him for too long or her too long, it generally doesn't work, and very often you make changes.
Why is that?
Because operating a buyout company with leverage is different than operating one without leverage. Also, people have different philosophies, and if you built this company you now own, you built it, it's your baby, and let's suppose you sell it tomorrow. You say, look, I know everything here. Why would you not want to keep me? And they would say, well, you're nice, but now it's our money at risk, and our money at risk is different, and we have different ways of doing things. Now, sometimes they might say, we want to keep you for a while to keep the customers happy, to make certain that there's no transition, employees aren't leaving right away.
Yeah.
But after a while, they'll say, you need to come into work 40 hours a week, maybe 30 hours a week, or maybe 20 hours a week, maybe 10 hours a week. And by the way, we're going to call you Chairman Emeritus. And by the way, your parking spot's gone. At some point, they don't need you so much. That's what happens in life.
What's the difference between a way a founder is wired versus a CEO is wired? Like, what do you see to say, I don't think this founder is a real CEO? Like, what's the difference between those two?
A founder is willing to take entrepreneurial risks. When you take an entrepreneurial risk, you're betting a lot on something happening, and if it doesn't work out, you lose a lot more. The CEO is basically getting a salary and maybe some stock incentives and so forth, but he or she, will transition to some other job and they can run another company. The founder has more of his heart and soul in it as a generally a principle. And so when you build something, it's much different than if you're running something.
So with all the craziness taking place, I believe future looks bright. If you believe future looks bright, get your latest Future Looks Bright hat of Valuetainment. It says Future Looks Bright here, Future Looks Bright here. We got them in white, we got them in black, we got them in red. Our black on black sold out. These are about to sell out. If you haven't ordered one yet, we had a person in Michigan, bought one, then he bought 3. Then when those 3 people weren't in the office, they had to order 58 of them because people wanted the Future Looks Bright hat, especially during times like this, because ain't nobody saying Future Looks Bright. To order your Future Looks Bright hat, click over here. And to watch the entire podcast, click here. Take care, everybody.